Good morning, everybody. This week's Parsha is Terumah, and I thought I would start with one of my favorite songs, prayers that we often sing in our services, and the lines are from this week's Parsha. Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham. In English, oh Lord, well, sort of, this is a version of it, a version of a translation of it, how we sing it in English. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. And thank you, Karen. Leave that up for a second. This is great to have, what do we call this, visual aid? That's what we called it in the old days anyway, right? What's happening is we're still in the book of Exodus, but the whole book shifts now to the building of this mikdash. You see the second line there. And like, what happened? Where did this come from? We think of Exodus, of course, in Hebrew, it's Shemot. I mean, what is all of a sudden the entire thrust of this book doesn't exactly or apparently or easily understood connect to either the Hebrew name for the book, Shemot, names, or the English name, Exodus. So Mikdash is something for us to really spend a lot of time contemplating, and we're going to, all of the next parshiot are going to be about this Mikdash. And the fourth line, betocham, is really, I've been studying and looking up, what does this mean? And it means build for me, right, this mikdash, this sanctuary, this indwelling place, which is the shechanti, and you can see the word shechina in there, right? That's where it comes, the indwelling place for this life giver, animator of all, Yud He Vav He. And by the way, these instructions are coming to Moses. He's now up on the mountain again for 40 days and 40 nights again. And that's where this comes through and how it comes through. And this bitocham, so the directions, the vibrations that Moshe gets, which again is somehow connected to the 10 vibrations that were received by everyone at Sinai in last week's Torah portion, not last week's, 2 weeks ago, right? These vibrations of how are you going to live? What is the way to build a human society where you're just not either enslaved or wandering in a wilderness? I mean, isn't there some alternative? Don't we want to know? And so these instructions are part of those instructions for how we're going to live. And betocham is construct this mikdash so that this shechanti, what is this shechina, this God dwellingness among us will live in us. So the building of this mikdash, it's not for God, and it's not for God. it's not like God doesn't need a place to live because God is formless, right? God, we can't even pronounce the name. God is everything and everywhere. And yet, for this presence, I'm thinking of it as presence to live among us, there's something we have to do, even though it's already here in the essence of everything. So this is Torah at this like amazingly heightened level of non-duality. You can't really grasp it. It's just too mind-blowing because it's like, we know every Hasidic story is, where is God wherever you think God isn't. I mean, it's like there's no end, Ein Sof. It's everything. And yet, if we want to have a life that where we are actually maybe protected by this presence, I don't even know which word to use, fill it in. We have to build something. And what it is building this Mishkan. And so what is, I thought I would just sort of deconstruct. What is it? So the first thing is, what's the purpose of it? Or what is it? It's to somehow bring into our midst, betocham, some kind of aliveness, some kind of presence. So maybe it's to bring our higher capacity so that we can, each of us as individuals, as well as a collective society, be more than either enslaved or wandering in a wilderness. That there is another alternative. And let's face it, we're living in a time in the world where we're wondering exactly this. And so this has been since the beginning, or since the continuation. So it's something, there's some aliveness that's going to dwell in this. And right away, those of us who are, into Torah, we see, oh, wait a minute, something alive. So not the golden calf, which, in the flow of Torah, it's already happened. It's happened now. It happened before. There's no actual order because all of this is beyond space and time. So a lot of our tradition says that it's very specific. Build this, take all these ingredients, don't build a golden calf, or take apart that golden calf that you already built and create something that's going to hold aliveness. So that's something that's just so beautiful. We're going to take the same ingredients, and it really reminds me of the Passover Seder that's coming up, right? Where the same ingredients that can be the chametz, that which overpowers us with ego. It's the same exact ingredients that is the matzah. It's all about bringing in air, time, and space. So all of this, deep into all of this are these messages that with the ingredients we have of our lives, we can build something better. So I think there's an incredible amount of hopefulness, and I think we're getting a clue about what's the Mikdash about. It's like we're in the wilderness. We're going to be in the wilderness for the whole rest of the Torah, and yet there is always this direction that's going to take us to something more fulfilling and more life-sustaining. So what is the purpose again? Is that so I will dwell within the people. Now, of course, we know from so much tradition, and I was looking at the teachings of this, the Malbim, who was this really interesting Ukrainian Polish figure who kept getting into so much conflict in the 19th century in Europe with the German authorities of Judaism, that they actually imprisoned him. But anyway, he said, what this really is an instruction that we should build a sanctuary in our own hearts. And I think when we look closely at the Parsha, that completely resonates with me, because we're not building a house for God. You know, that is a false idol. That's a golden calf, right? So it's something about the building. So it's that when we are building, instead of tearing down, right? When we are building, it's that very act of building. And when we join together collectively, that is when, in that process, we are creating the possibility, or we're in the process of presence, loving presence living within us. And how do we do this? This morning I was reflecting on this, and I thought, this is kind of an anti-Marie Kondo movement. I think, is it Kondo or Konda? Anyway, the very fashionable thinking that you only get rid of things that don't bring you joy. Well, I think this is just the opposite. This is saying, I mean, when you read the list of the ingredients of the outside of this Mishkan, it's the most magnificent, beautiful, sapphires and dyes and, just it's beauty. It's things that you actually, that will draw humans in. That's what we're giving away to create this. So I feel inspired to continue. And this fits with Purim, right? When you bring gifts to people. That I think that another lesson we're getting here, another teaching, is give away things that are beautiful and of value, because in the giving of that is what creates this space for God within us. So there's a lot about, well, how do you, first of all, where does all this amazing stuff come from in the wilderness? There's a lot of teaching that this is actually what was given to us from our Egyptian sisters and brothers, how they blessed us to go forth into the wilderness and do this, because of course they also want to be freed from Pharaoh. And so what is the human condition that for us to be in, that we could actually do this, give away beautiful things, create a society where living presence, that which is sustainable, is in our midst. And that gets to the word Terumah, which is the name of this week's Parsha. And according to no less an authority than Rashi, we don't really know what Terumah is. All we know is that it's what comes from a heart that is moved. And that is in the very beginning of the Parsha, when Yud-Heh Vav-Heh tells Moses, go get all the people to bring all these magnificent objects that we have no idea where they came from, really, because Torah doesn't tell us. But it has to come from hearts that are moved to do this. And so what is a heart that has been moved? So remember, these are people who, right, they were subjected to Pharaoh, right? They internalized Pharaoh heart. And many say on no merit of their own, they were brought out into the wilderness to have an opportunity to evolve. We have an opportunity to evolve to a heart that can move. Pharaoh heart is exactly the heart that is not moved, right? It's not moved by suffering. It's not even moved by fear. So this is absolutely saying something has happened between leaving Pharaoh heart and getting into this wilderness, where now there is a mass of people whose hearts can move. So that's another reason why I love this Parsha. We are celebrating this movement. So here we are. And this is, if we want to meditate a little bit on this Parsha this week, to really meditate on what is it that moves your heart to want to give away things of value and to do it because you know that it's going to really bring this beauty into your center and into our center. So that's the terumah. And so we bring these gifts from our hearts that have moved. And then what do? The instructions in the Parsha is that here's the pattern. So we are given a pattern, and we are given um, kind of broad brush strokes of what to do with the pattern. But it doesn't really say who's going to do it and where does it come from. So there's a mystery. There's just so much mystery in this. And I think it's calling on us to find the pattern, for us to look at what are the patterns in our lives and our societies, right, that move hearts. And there's reference in the actual building to weaving and looping and looping in edges. And my favorite of the day reference to something in the building that I wanted to bring our attention to is that the whole thing is held together by Adonim, which is Adonai. So this word that is translated as Lord God, Adonai, is in this parsha referring to the sockets that connect the different parts of the outer structure of the Mishkan. So I think myself as Adonim, as an Adonai, then as that which connects. So when we are praying, we're praying for connection, right? We're praying for connection to the highest of the high. We're praying connection to our own hearts. Very often when we pray, I think we're praying for connection to the people we love and the people who maybe we don't love. And that also comes from the structure of this Mishkan, that these connectors are among the most specific placement details given. And the last point that I want to make, it's so rich as they all are, is that from the beginning of the Parsha, where we're introduced to the hearts that the Terumah, the hearts that are moved, right? So you could think of it as like the heart of love, right? As the construction goes on, it moves to how we're going to construct the clothing of the priests who will be doing these rituals. And what comes in then is a new concept of hearts, which is wisdom. And it says, so you speak to each who is wise of heart, whom I have filled with the spirit of chokhmah, wisdom, that they may make Aharon's garments. So how we enter into participating in the rituals that are also what the Mishkan carries with it is by this process of coming into a place where our hearts are moved and touched and building together, building this sanctuary so that the Shekhinah, the indwelling nature of the omnipotent can live in our midst. And through that process, we gain wisdom. And the wisdom heart is what we bring when we're actually fashioning the clothing, the outfit, the amazing clothing and outfit is like really doesn't get the details of what these priests are going to be wearing, but that it comes from this unification of the loving heart, the heart that can be moved, and the wisdom heart. And that once we have brought those together in our human hearts, that is the indwelling place. And I would say it's the place that what it is that's going to dwell within is what we could call maybe conscious awareness, so that we can understand and care about and deal wisely with the impact of all of our choices. So I just want to bless us all this week and in this time as we go into Purim and then Pesach, with finding ways to give and receive that lift up our hearts of love and our hearts of wisdom. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Really